Hey, how y'all doing? It's No Bandit back at you today. Today we're going to discuss cellies, taking control of your cell, boundaries, right? You got to watch all your cellies, any prison you're at, wherever you go, who you're living with, right? I got a lot of stories from that. When I went to Anamosa for the first time, I go to the cell, they send me to the cell. It's a two-man cell. I go in there and the other dude's got he's at work somewhere at the shop or something, but the other dude's got all the plug-ins taken for the TVs, radios, everything, hot pot, anything you need to plug in. My new celly had all the plug-ins taken. I'm fresh to prison. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as I walk in there, I see this. I got nowhere to plug none of my shit in. My clock, none of my hot pots, none of my TVs. Everything, all the plug-ins are taken. He's at work. See, he probably knew that a celly was coming, so he wanted to plug all his shit in. I couldn't have anywhere to plug my shit in at. So as soon as I went to the cell, I unplugged all his shit. I didn't even know who he was or what he was about or nothing like that, his name or anything, right? I went there and plugged all his shit and plugged all my shit in. So when he came home from work, he's like, what the hell's going on in here, right? I just took over the cell and plugged my shit in, right? You got to assert your dominance in the cell. Who's going to be the fucking dominant one in the cell? You know what I mean? Or if you're equals, you can get along and everything will be okay if you both follow the rules together. About what's expected in the cell, what's not expected in the cell. You know what I mean? Who you are, your paperwork, all that shit, right? So this dude ended up being one of the top dogs of the prison. So it became a joke. Everybody was going around the prison, laughing because I went in there and unplugged all this dude's shit, all his electronics, and plugged all my shit in. So for years it was a joke, right? Everybody was laughing. Even him came to me years later. He's like, "Man, you're crazy, man. Just coming in fresh, new prison, and plugging all my shit, all my electronics, right? So anywhere you go, you got to assert your dominance over the cell, or who's in the cell with you, or who you're going to accept in the cell, or if you're not going to accept the cell, then go to lockup. When I did all my time, my 15 years, right, I get sent to a new prison. Before I even go to the cell, I go find the dude whose cell that is, who's living there. I get his name and everything. I go find him on the yard, run him down wherever he's at if he's not in the cell, right? Depends on what prison I'm at. To let him know who I am, lay down the rules, right? This is who I am. Let's go see your paperwork. Who are you? What you're about. This is what I expect in the cell. I've been down 10, 12 years, right? This is what's going to happen. What I'm saying? If he complies or he doesn't comply. If he's got to be kicked out, I kicked a few of my cellies out too. You know what I mean? Depends on paperwork. Depends on, a lot of things. Mutual respect or whoever you want to live with you. You know what I mean? Shit like that. So everywhere I went, I took control of my cell. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes there was, just the smallest things like, dude's brushing his hair. Dude's brushing his hair, walking around the cell. He's on the top bunk. It's a two-man cell. He's on the top bunk. I'm on the bottom. Well, my cup's down there. My TV, my radio's down there. This dude's combing his hair, brushing his hair. He's a black dude, So, his hair and shit's getting all over the place, So I told him, go over there by the toilet. That's your designated brush your hair area. Don't walk around in front of my bed. Just respect, you know what I'm saying? I don't want your hair all over my fucking cup, in my cup, my coffee cup, all over my radio, all over my bed where I gotta sleep. That's my home right there. So you need to go brush your hair in the corner over there by the toilet and shit, okay? Don't be pacing back and forth in front of my bed, brushing your fucking hair, right? We're gonna have problems. You know what I'm saying? Well, dude complied and he understood and we was all cool after that, you know what I'm saying? But you gotta set your boundaries, Can't just let dudes do whatever they want to do around you. You know what I mean? They're not running the fucking cell. Another instance is while I was at a cell, I go in there and this dude, they send me to the cell and there's like 300-pound dude on the bottom bunk. You know what I mean? Which I understand he's on the bottom bunk because he's so big. So I got to go up top. Well, as soon as I went in the room, the fucking room stunk like shit, because the dude's big. He's not trying to go downstairs and take a shower when you get let out of the cell, you know what I mean? So I'm up top and I'm just smelling all this rotten ass shit from him out showering. It's 100 fucking degrees, 120 degrees in the cell house because there's no air conditioner in there. We're two full grown men. I'm 250 pounds. This dude's 300 and some pounds, right? So I had to come in one day, tell him man to man. I said, look, man, you're going to take your ass down to the shower. I'm going to check that shower before I come in. You better be in that shower. You know what I'm saying? You're going to wash your ass. Because I caught him down there in the sink. You know what I'm saying? Washing his ass in the sink. Like I said, what are you doing? Oh, I'm taking a bird bath. It's 120 degrees outside. I'm like, there ain't no bird bath. You need to take your ass to the shower. We're grown men. I'm not going to sit here and smell you, right? It's like I said, I'm going to see you down at the shower when I come in for cell line. I went down there, even checked a few times, looked, he was in there, right? Let him know I'm not fucking around. You're going to shower, you're going to get the fuck out of here. That's how it's got to go, I'm not living with no filthy ass motherfucking dude that ain't showering. So you already got the bottom bunk, you know what I mean? So he ended up following the rules too, you know what I'm saying? They'll follow the rules, you exert your dominance. If you want to be in control or you're going to be a pushover or whatever you're going to do, right? You got to let them know what's going on. This is your cell. Let them know your presence. This is my shit. We're going to get along or we're not going to. One of us going to leave. You know what I'm saying? I was in one cell too, another time, and my cellies in there. There's two of us, He offered me some food. Like, I didn't even want none of his shit. I had my own food, my own stuff, you know what I mean? I'm running shit. This dude ain't nobody to me, right? But he offered me some food. He's like, hey, we're going to cook a dip later, man. Lay a spread out. He's like, you want some and shit, right? I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'll take some, right? So dude comes back to the cell later on that night. I see him and like four of his boys down there eating and shit, right? Which I don't care, but don't offer me something and then fucking, don't keep your word and lie and shit. Well, I seen him and all his boys. I'm waiting for him to come back to the cell so I can fucking, at 9 o'clock, that fucking cell locks. You can't get out of that motherfucker. Then I'm gonna attack his ass, right? Let him know what's up, right? So he comes up later on, while I'm sitting there in the cell just waiting for him patiently. He comes in, he has this bowl of food, like a little bit of food at the bottom. He throws it on the counter. He's like, here you go. I'm like, what's that? He's like, oh, that's what I had left over. You can have that if you want, Right there, boom, like I'm some dog or some shit, right? I'm going to eat your leftovers, right? So I just waited until the fucking dude come by and slammed the door. He's over there taking a piss, He's a big dude, He's over there taking a piss, holding his little dick or whatever the fuck. So as soon as the guard locked that door, I rolled over to his ass. What's up, motherfucker? In his ear. Let him know what's up. You're not going to treat me like some fucking dog and not keep your word on me to eat your fucking leftover food, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So I let him take his little piss. As soon as he was done, I told him tensions is high in this motherfucker, right? I lit him up a few times. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? Fat ass dude fell down on his bed and shit. He ain't no leader. To his boys, he thinks he's some tough ass leader, but he's not. I told him, you're a bitch. You're a fucking bitch. You're not on my level. Don't ever fucking come at me like that ever in your life ever again. You hear me? You know what I'm saying? So I took care of his ass that night. Total respect after that. Total respect. Bottom line to the story is, you gotta choose your cellies. After a while, I got to choose my cellies, right? I tell the sergeants and shit. They know my violence and my fucking past and all that's on record. You don't put no motherfuckers in here I don't get along with. Don't, if I, you know what I'm saying? You gotta put the right motherfuckers in the cell with me. They already knew that. Or I'm gonna go lock up, or I'm gonna beat dude down, and he's gonna get out of the fucking cell, right? Because I ain't living like that. That's my peace. That's my home. When I come in from the yard is my cell, right? That's where I lay my head down at, right? You gotta have respect. You know what I'm saying? We can have mutual respect, but you gotta get along and have mutual respect, right? Or your ass is out of here, right? Keep that in mind in the cell. You got to assert your dominance. Every cell, every prison, wherever you go to. You know what I mean? Are you going to accept the bullshit that they give you? Well, I wasn't accepting nothing. All right, guys. That's it for today, man. Later, guys. Peace out.